pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just remember. Just remember. Just remember. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just remember. Just remember. Just remember. Just remember.
It is the Center for Stock Car Racing. It is in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is the Charlotte Motor Speedway here tonight for what will be round number 6 of the TNT Truck Series season. But instead of going around the oval tonight, we'll be going around the Roval. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me, my broadcast partner, as always, and brand new producer to the channel, Tony Trapasso. Tony, you did a fantastic job last night. You said it was your first time in 3 years producing a race. You did an absolutely wonderful job with the Ghost race last night. But tonight, it's a completely different challenge. These guys are turning cars right that barely want to go left.
This is a very true story, and you know the part of that infield road course section, it's so technical that you can't blink wrong or you're going around. Because you've got the whole switchback thing just before you come back out onto the main oval in what would be NASCAR 1. There's an elevation change that really unsettles all vehicles that go across there, more so with the trucks being as they're so top heavy to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And these things are going to be incredibly difficult to get around here tonight. Only had one road course race last season. That was back towards the end of the season. That was at the Circuit of the Americas, and the winner of that race, wouldn't you know it, it actually wasn't Randy Bechdel, it was Evan Pienta. So look for him to be strong here tonight, especially with where he's sitting in the points. Second place now, 66 points off of Randy Bechdel in the points lead.
I mean, you take a look at where Evan's sitting right now on the timing and scoring charts in the practice session. He's half a second to the good over Chase Berry, who's another second and a half to the good over Randy Bechdel. So basically, Pienta almost a full second to the good right now over his arch nemesis, everybody's arch nemesis in the point standings, Randy Bechdel. So it's going to be a fun one to figure this one out tonight.
And don't sleep on Randy. He's going for his fourth consecutive pole, his fifth out of 6 attempts this season, and he won the pole at Circuit of the Americas last season as well. So he is certainly no slouch on these road course racetracks. But this, again, not your traditional road course. It's very much like the Daytona infield roval and racetrack, where you have those elements of a high-banked, high-speed, high-paced oval that these trucks are normally used to going around, and then you throw in the flat twisting bits. It creates a headache for these drivers. One, how to get used to and switch off of running on the oval, and two, to set up these things.
Very much so. And, the biggest problem that I've seen so far, it comes down to guys overshooting that backstretch chicane and guys hitting too much of the sausage curb on the front stretch chicane.
Those will be the key points here tonight. And for the first time, we will be seeing the brand new 2022 spec trucks, as you see on screen right now. Ryan Jones's brand new Toyota TDR Tundra. As the guys who run the Toyotas really had a tough run of luck here with this brand new update. Completely wiped out their cars. Meanwhile, anyone who runs a Chevrolet or a Ford was completely fine.
Yeah, because I've looked at the templates of all three vehicles so far. The Ford and the Chevy, it's basically just a big decal change, a little bit of tweak to the bodywork, but the old template will line up with the new template. Not so much in the Toyota, because there's so much different in the front on that TRD that these guys have been working overtime, especially guys like Pienta, and Pogo and one of our other leagues. Pogo in this league. Pienta and Pogo, they've been working overtime trying to get those Toyota paint schemes out to the guys, and not the easiest thing to do.
Randy Bechdel as well for Payday Racing has had to redo 3 entire trucks.
Randy's the one I wasn't remembering. I apologize, Randy.
And there is one of them, that KB's all-around shop, number 17 for Chase Berry, who will finish this session the second quickest as we get set to go into qualifying here for tonight's race.
Berry and Pienta, the only two to go sub 122s here tonight.
Yeah, but here comes Chase Berry immediately out onto the racetrack, and the qualifying rules still in effect that we had mentioned last week. All drivers must make an honest attempt to qualify for this race. If not, they must start from pit road to try to keep guys in the back, faster guys in the back, from running over slower guys in the back on their way to the front.
Well, the other good thing is they did change the length of qualifying tonight from 5 minutes back to 10 minutes. So that'll make things just a tick more easier.
Yeah, and just think you're going to have to, because it's going to be a couple of minutes. It's about 2 minutes, 23 seconds per lap, and that's if you're really moving around here. That completely that's not even counting the get up to speed lap, which all of these guys are on now. So that's your 2 laps if it's just the 5 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah. You're allowed 1 flyer if they only did 5. So they did extend it to 10 here for tonight. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to really attack that out lap and see how much heat they can get in the tires, or are they going to lay back on the first one and just blister one in the second flyer.
And Chase Berry is going to be the first one to clip the timing and scoring line for a flying lap. As Barry heading through that infield section will jump on board with that TRD Toyota. Try to get a gauge on what he's doing as far as shifting, braking points, how much he's having to roll in this set of corners right here. Going to be one of the more difficult sets all night.
Very much so. And right where he was coming over there, that's that elevation change I was mentioning earlier. The track just drops away, and it's an off-camber left-hand corner. So the elevation's dropping. The track is banked opposite of how it really should be to carry any speed through there. And you really have to be up on the wheel, or else you're going for a ride quickly, usually into the infield care center.
That'll be turn 6, and turn 7 isn't all that easy as well, as you have to deal with that negative pressure of going down the hill and then coming back up to a flat and level surface. And also the two chicanes here are also going to be a big issue as Chase Barry comes through the second of the two chicanes. Looking to set times, just barely kissing those big blue sausage curbs on the back of the corners.
Wow.
And will jump out to a 120.78. Hits the wall on the second one, but something tells me he's not going to need it, as that's Scott Tompkins coming by 2 seconds slower.
That's a full second quicker than Barry went during the hot lap session, so that's impressive to say the least.
It's that Mercedes sandbagging, I think, is what we would call
there
that.
You go.
Here's Ellis Thomas crossing the line on his first attempt, and Ellis Thomas will not set a time.
He tagged the wall.
Yep, hitting the wall somewhere. Here's Evan Pienta, jumps up to second on his first lap, and that's all he's going to get. Trying to push a little bit too hard. Randy Bechdel third on his first lap, about a quarter of a second off of Pienta. Pienta even still about half a second off of Chase Barry.
Yeah, that was an impressive lap off of Barry. And that's just digging deep and making sure you hit your marks. That was just wow. As perfect a lap as you're going to be able to crank around here in the truck. And, you can see Bechdel run that nice tidy line through that last part of the infield section there. And you can see when he gets up on the banking how much this truck just bounces as he hits that banking coming off the flat.
We saw a lot of bouncing over the course of the week at Phoenix Raceway, as Bechdel coming down into the first of the chicanes. One that's been reprofiled over the years. It's been made a lot more significant instead of the quick little flick right and left as it was when this track initially came to be. And this hairpin down here in the tri-oval still very much the same as it was at the start, and has proved to be an action point ever since day one. Bechdel crosses the line. He will go second with a 21.12.
Now, all that needs to happen is Ryan Jones has to get by Evan Pienta, and they can stay that way throughout the race. We're going to have our second payday podium of the season, but I guarantee you Pienta's going to do everything in his power to make sure that doesn't happen.
Absolutely. We're looking at Chandler Summers here. Summers on his second lap, 10th quickest on his first. So we'll see what Summers can do in this number 12 Tompkins Chevy Silverado. Nice, calm, and steady heading through these chicanes, and that's what a lot of guys are going to be looking for here tonight. If you know you don't have a chance at winning a race like this, just focus on staying on the racetrack, and those positions will fall to you.
Yeah, that's the one thing we have noticed the last few times that we've been here in other series. This is a track of attrition. Most of the time, guys get it wrong coming into the road course section, where they just overcook turn one and just bang that wall, and next thing you know, you're piecing the car back on the hauler. But like you said, and that kind of holds true to most road courses, right, Frank? You just got to keep the truck on the pavement. Don't get into the grass, and you'll be okay.
Dan Dill and Chris Hone at this point are the only two that have not at least attempted to qualify. Stephen Holmes crosses the line, was fifth. He will not better his time, and now it'll be Jeff Pogo jumping up into the fifth position. Chris Brown sets one lap, puts him 14th. Johnny Rapp on his second. And Rapp, who hit the wall somewhere on his first lap, fastest of all in the first sector. As we'll see what Rapp can do here, as he's got the two NASCAR corners and the two chicanes to negotiate,
Let's see how this one plays out for the 52. Rapp's one of those guys that he's due. Nice tidy line through that last chicane across the stripe. Fourth quick.
P4. 121.55 for Rapp on his second lap. Jamie Leach out on track. This is his first lap. Paul Thomas ran both laps of his qualifying session, did not enter a valid time. Cody Levitt had gone to pit road and stopped. Chris Hone and Dan Dill have not attempted either, as Leach will blow this chicane here at the end of the lap, and that will be it for him.
No, he's just starting lap 2 now.
With only it's not going to go much further.
And there it goes.
And even with it at a minute and 42 seconds left, he wasn't getting around to complete the lap anyway. So qualifying is effectively over at this point. And Chase Barry will break his teammate's streak of 3 consecutive poles and become just the third unique pole winner of the season.
But this is, payday racing has a stranglehold on this competition right now. I'm looking through right now, and why is it not coming up? There it is. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and there's still a lot of racing left to do. I mean, we're going 60 laps here tonight. The biggest thing to be mindful of is they've only got 3 sets of tires to do it, and we're doing a 50% fuel fill. So they are going to have to pit at least once.
50% fuel fill. Stages tonight will be at lap 15, and lap 35.
No.
Yes.
I'm looking at what Pogo just put in the chat. 15, 20, 25.
Yeah, that's how many laps are in the stages, sir.
Oh.
So 15 and 35 will be the stage breaks here tonight, and that will leave 25 laps to the end of the race, as we will now take it to the grid to start round number 6 of this season. And starting on the pole will be, as we mentioned, Chase Barry in that number 17, a 1:20.779, a blistering qualifying time. Randy Bechdel will start to his outside in row 1. Evan Pienta and Johnny Rapp will start in row 2, with Ryan Jones and Jeff Pogo making up row number 3. Stephen Holmes and Scott Tompkins will sit in row 4. Chris Smith and Eric Wright will make up row number 5, and Chandler Summers and Ellis Thomas will sit in row number 6.
Mike Mock and Tony Cameron making up row number 7. Jamie Leach and Chris Brown are going to roll off in 8. Larry Poling and Cody Levitt starting in row 9. And now Poling was the last truck to actually post a time in the qualifying session. Dan Dill, Chris Hone, Paul Thomas rounding out your field of 21 here tonight.
Now, Paul Thomas slated as the 21st starter because while he did not set a time, he did attempt laps, and he will start at the back for that.
And Stephen Holmes just had a throughput.
We saw him have one of those earlier on. So the inside row will jump up by 1. as we wait and see how long it will take for Stephen Holmes to get back into it, back into the session. And I mean, good news for Stephen Holmes is that we are on a road course, and it's only going to be, it's a long lap around here, so he's not going to go too far down.
Well, provided he can get into the grid right now.
Yeah, that too.
As he did just get back in the session.
There you go. So he won't be gridding up. He will be pit starting here tonight, just the same way Dan Dill and Chris Hone will be. Weather conditions here for tonight. It is a cool day as far as ambient temperature is concerned. 77-degree ambient temperature, 104-degree track temperature, though. Cool air, hot track. It's going to be a fast but slick little place to race here today.
Absolutely, and we preach this all the time that power management is going to be the key to tonight's victory, and not abusing those rear tires, not abusing your brakes is going to be the big factor here tonight, especially coming into those heavy braking zones of turn 1 in both of the chicanes.
Absolutely, and as we head through what will be turns 3 and 4 here tonight, a beautiful look high above, as this is about the cleanest these trucks will be, a majority of them at least, will be here tonight, as this is going to be one demanding race. If you thought COTA was bad last year, this one here is certainly going to be quite a different challenge. And also to note, this is not the only road course that we are going to be seeing this year. We do go to another one, second to last race of the season. We're going to 2 more. We go to Watkins Glen in about a month's time, and then the second to last race of the season is at Canadian Tire. So these guys better get used to this, because it's going to be coming up quite a bit. Very
much so. Canadian Tire is the one that I'm kind of looking forward to, because that's always a challenge when you put trucks on that type of demanding circuit. Canadian Tire has a lot of factors that are very similar to Mid-Ohio sports car course, where you have all those elevation changes. It's like riding on a roller coaster most of the time.
Absolutely. And when you talk about Talladega coming up next week, then Dover after that, New Hampshire, Five Flags, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, what at that point will be the new Atlanta, Darlington, Martinsville, Daytona, Canadian Tire. I'll tell you what, Eric Holly and Jeff Pogo put these guys through the ringer this season. If you want to win a championship, you have to earn it this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of a sadistic joy that they got out of setting up that schedule. But I like it. It's something different, Yeah,
but it's also one that can't be too sadistic, because you remember you got to also race it as well.
Right.
As we head through NASCAR 3 and 4, getting set to go tonight, which tonight it'll be NASCAR 3 and 4 normally, but for tonight it will be turns 13 and 14, as the pace car will duck on off, getting ready for one of the more awkward starting positions you could possibly find here in NASCAR. The guys head on their way through the final chicane for 60 laps here at the Charlotte Roval. We are green.
We are green. Everybody getting a pretty clean start. Everybody kind of tiptoeing right now. A couple of guys getting stacked up on that outside lane. But up at the front, we got a pretty decent start. Here comes Pienta on Barry already under the attack.
Pienta got around Randy Bechdel at the beginning of the race, and then just used that open line to get around Chase Barry, and now that 0-0 very quickly in the lead, as already we're seeing Ryan Jones start to put Jeff Pogo under pressure. And we'll note, after last week, we had seen the contact, quote-unquote, between Pogo and Ryan Jones last week at Milwaukee. That was Ryan Jones downshifting in the back end, stepping away, trying to gain an advantage on that 4. That was not contact.
Yeah, we discussed that during the broadcast, that I could have put my wheelchair between those two trucks when Jones went around.
Johnny Rapp having to defend from Jeff Pogo here very quickly, as Pogo now getting under Rapp in turn 13. Pogo off to the
Um,
races already. Ryan Jones there as well.
Yeah, you know what I just noticed?
What did you just notice?
And it didn't dawn on me earlier. Pogo's not in a Chevy tonight.
Yep. Yep, he's in that Red Bull Toyota here tonight.
All right, then.
As Evan Pienta has already opened a 1.5 second lead on Chase Barry and Randy Bechdel. Now, if you remember, going all the way back to season 5, it was a great battle at the Daytona Road Course between Evan Pienta and Chase Barry as Paul Thomas has an issue. This is in turn 1. As that 42 goes around. I'm sure we'll be doing this quite a bit here tonight.
Luckily, he didn't hit anything.
That's Chris Hone coming up behind him, still quite a ways back. And just overshot turn 1, and you're right, Tony, pulled up just short of that tire barrier.
And looks like Johnny Rapp not happy with how that truck is handling right now, as he's already fallen 7 from where he started this piece.
Yeah, he absolutely is not. Try to get back to live action here. Here we are. As Johnny Rapp has already fallen, you're right, from 7th all the way down to the 11th position. As Chandler Summers in the 12, Eric Wright in the 53, battling side by side going into the chicane. Already see a lot of right rear damage on that 12.
Yeah, very much so. And I dare say he got into the... Because I saw something happen at the initial start. I saw a couple guys get up into the wall, and it looked like Summers was one of them. But not going to be a major effect on that truck tonight.
So we were talking about with it being such an awkward place to start a race. As Eric Wright is around and into the wall coming out of turn 4. Stephen Holmes getting a little piece of that as well in the 9.
Yeah, that could have ended a lot more poorly than it did. Luckily, everybody doing a heads-up job to not annihilate their vehicles.
Look and see here once again, and it's coming out of turn 4. It's so difficult. He blows corner entry to begin with, and then just behind the big board, too much gas and pops out a little bit too far. Stephen Holmes, who unfortunately is in a position that you wouldn't think he would have been in with a 6th place starting spot, catches a little bit of damage off of it.
And that was because he had to pit start.
Yep. He's already up to 10th. As Johnny Rapp loses another position, he's back down to 11th. Scott Tompkins battling with Chris Smith. This will be for the 6th position between these two. Ellis Thomas not that far behind either. Tompkins going a little bit wide there through turns 3 and 4.
Thomas in the 80, currently your biggest mover, already up 4 from where he started, sitting in that number 8 position. This is the stage of the race where you settle in, you see what you've got, try not to punish it, and just try to get to the first 15 laps in the books and kind of play it by ear from there.
Chris Smith, of these 3 that you're seeing on screen right now, has the best lap at its 1:23.98 through the first 3.5, and he has his hands full there as he comes down off of that curb on the inside. As Chris Smith starting to work his way up again. He's +2 positions. Another guy who's been moving up through the field is the number 1 of Chris Brown. Running a black 136 here tonight. It was black 36, pardon me, here tonight is Chris Brown.
No, you're right. There's a 1 on there. It's just spelled out.
Yep, it's written. I just happened to notice that. There it goes.
That's an old dirt track deal.
Flashing by. As if the 1K that he has been running wasn't.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Ellis Thomas now getting around Scott Tompkins. Chris Smith has done the same as well. Heading through 7 and 8. Back up onto the NASCAR oval. Evan Pienta with a big slide there has not been able to get away from Chase Barry, and I called back before to their incredible battle back at Daytona in Season 5 in the Cup car. So these two definitely know how to get around a road course and know how to race each other around a road course, as Chase Barry starting to close in little by little here. That gap was about 1.5 seconds. It's now down to 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, absolutely. But the gap back to Randy Bechdel, your points leader, is steadily starting to gain. That gap is growing. But there is a battle starting to heat up with Chandler Summers and Stephen Holmes. That is your battle for 9th. Those guys are hot and heavy right now as they come into the infield.
And that's Holmes looking to take position away from Tompkins, as Tompkins had to, as Summers had to really jump on the binders there to keep from running into the back of Holmes. Johnny Rapp now takes advantage of that. He's back up into 10th. A close battle and a solid pass there by Stephen Holmes, jumping up into the 9th position down in turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen Holmes in that number 9 just applied the pressure, and unfortunately Chandler Summers just got on it a little too hard, a little too soon, coming through the first part of that infield section. And you can carry a lot of speed through there, but not side by side.
Take a look at that pass here. This is going down into turn 1. Solid move made there. And then watch as Holmes has to slow up a little bit, and that sends the 12 a little bit wild. Coming out, going into turn 3, and while that was going on, the 136 of Chris Brown had a little bit of a moment. Same place as the 53 of Eric Wright that's coming out of turn 4. Essentially the same thing Wright did.
Yeah, just a little too hot, a little too soon, and luckily didn't hit anything. So the chrome pieces on that Chevy Silverado are still bright and shiny chrome.
Absolutely is. Evan Pienta has now stabilized that lead. Still at 0.7 of a second, but he has definitely stabilized that lead. Putting the emphasis on himself here this evening with his Evan Pienta Designs 00. Usually you see peak antifreeze or something along those lines. Hot Wheels on that truck.
U.S. Air Force.
Yep, U.S. Air Force starting to put a little bit into himself, and we talk about it all the time, but he certainly knows how to paint a race car, whether it's a truck, one of the old 87 cars. Watch for his line of Buicks, I'm sure that'll be coming out soon. Guy knows his way around Photoshop.
Something happened with Paul Thomas.
Yep, there he is, stopped. This is going into the first chicane on the backstretch. He just has not been able to get it moving. Wonder what this is about. He has had a couple of offs.
I'm thinking it might be a pedal issue.
He just pulls over and stops. Now he is well out of the way of danger. However, danger can find you anywhere on a racetrack, and apparently he's towed it back to pit road. So whatever the issue with that 42 is not fixable or not able to work around so easily as Stephen Holmes continues his charge up through the field, looking to the back of Scott Tompkins for 8th. Oh, no, he's still sitting there.
Yeah, no, he hasn't moved.
Now the stage break is coming in about 6 laps time. I'm not sure why he's decided to hang there. Larry Poling has had an incident and towed. And while Chris Hone did start this race, and Hone currently running in the 18th position, Dan Dill did not. So that 11.
Dan Dill has already put it on the hauler. So
Dan Dill is a DNS here tonight, as Evan Pienta now has some serious things to consider when looking out the back end of his truck.
Yeah, Chase Berry has steadily reeled him in over the last couple of laps, as has Stephen Holmes reeled in Scott Tompkins for 8th. About a truck length and a half separate each one of those groupings.
Looking over the looking over the right shoulder of Chase Berry, and you can hear, even through what you would consider to be the flat out bit of this racetrack, he's still pedaling the throttle. Dives down into turn number 1. You just see he's a lot more composed than the 00 is right now, but it looks like Pienta able to pick up the throttle a little bit more, as Pienta really hanging that truck out.
Scotty Tompkins on the pit road.
Tompkins. Now we have seen, it was a quick glance, but there it is. There's the damage on the right side of Tompkins' machine. As he pulls up into his pit stall, so Scott Tompkins clearly feeling the effects of some damage, deciding to pit now, so maybe he doesn't have to in the second stage. Again, a 50% fuel fill.
And he's doing damage repair right now.
Yeah. Would be smart. Looking at Jeff Pogo and Ryan Jones. This is a battle for 4th, as Paul Thomas still sitting there. I'm surprised that this is something that Pogo has not said to him. You might want to just bail out and just tow it back to pit road if you're having such an issue. Although, to be fair, with the wiggle that we just saw out of Pogo going into the final chicane, I think he's got more things to worry about. Yeah.
And the pressure that Barry is giving Pienta is just driving the wheels off that truck right now.
Yep, he's in the grass. And this is going to give Chase Berry the lead.
There you go.
We saw and talked about it while we were riding on board with Chase Berry, how wild that 00 was, and compared to how composed the 17 was, and that composure has paid off as Chase Berry looks to lead his first laps of the season.
It's good to see. Chase is one of those guys that he's well overdue for having a really good finish.
Absolutely. We saw him finish 3rd back at Kansas.
And Chase Berry just announced he's going to pit this time.
So that's that 50% fuel fill. We saw Stephen Holmes come into pit just a moment ago. Here comes Chase Berry down pit road. Evan Pienta will stay on the racetrack. Randy Bechdel, no real surprise there, decides to come into pit with his teammate. As Jeff Pogo will be the next one. And yep, Pogo's in. Ryan Jones is in. So out of the top 5, Pienta the only one to stay out.
Yeah, if those guys decide to take tires here, he's in trouble, because you're looking at about a 4-second fall off from what their fast laps are to what their last laps were.
Just outside the top 5, deciding to stay out at least for the moment. Chandler Summers is in. That's Larry Poling in the 69. He is in as well. Chase Berry will get out in 2nd place at the moment. Randy Bechdel will fall to 4th, battling for 5th with Ellis Thomas on his way out of pit road. 7 and 8 second pit stops. That tells me fuel only.
Correct, sir.
Which means Evan Pienta cannot be all that far behind. Pit delta 36.28 seconds from cone to cone, including the pit stop. And we'll see what Evan Pienta can do here. And if that 36 seconds rings true, he'll come out battling with Jeff Pogo, for 7th. As here comes Pienta in now. So we'd have to assume that Chase Barry is going to assume the lead here. Find the car number. That's where your favorite driver is on track right now. So we see the track map come up in the corner. Chris Smith comes in. See Evan Pienta still in his box. He's now moving.
You know, that's kind of strange. Pienta and Barry came in stem to stern. Whoa! Pienta completely sideways trying to come off of pit road.
Here he is out in second. Behind Randy, ahead of Randy Bechdel, but about 4.5 seconds. I think that's the point that you were getting to.
Yes.
4.5 seconds behind Chase Barry.
Which is, it's strange to me that neither one of them took tires. Now, granted, Pienta did try to overcook it coming off of pit road, making that first 90 out of the standard pit lane. But that wasn't a 4.5 second swig.
Well, Pienta, time on pit road, 37.02 seconds. Time in the box, 7.82. Chase Barry, 36.28 seconds cone to cone. Pit stop was a half a second faster. So, I mean, that accounts for a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. You're right. I mean, that little slip up that Pienta had that we unfortunately missed.
Oh, you missed it. I didn't.
Well, actually, the power of video replay. Yay. We will unmiss it.
And he's still very sideways as he comes into the infield section of the track.
This is Evan Pienta on pit exit. It's just been sent. Whoa, okay, so there's the other 2.5 seconds.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden, that 4.5 second gap seems a little bit clearer than it did a moment ago.
Absolutely. But Randy Bechdel, for his credit, not giving up. He's doing everything he can to try to stay with Pienta right now.
The top 3 drivers are the only 3 drivers to set sub 1 minute 22 second lap times. Evan Pienta, at least at the moment, the fastest with a 1:21.52. Chase Barry a 1:21.6. And Randy Bechdel a 1:21.93.
Anytime you can go sub 122 here, that's moving. The fact that all 3 of those guys went sub 122 here, that's impressive.
And just think, Chase Barry was even a second quicker than his race best in qualifying. As the caution comes out,
there it is.
That right there
is the stage.
Yep, that would be the stage caution.
So Chase Barry, Pienta, Bechdel, Rapp, Pogo, Jones, Mock, Holmes, Smith, and Ellis Thomas getting the last point for the stage.
And if it wasn't for the sheesh that's down there that for the life of me I cannot get rid of, that would say Chase Barry stage 1 winner. So as these guys race to get back to the pace car, we will take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the TNT Truck Series presented by the United Sim Racing Association. Chase Barry, the winner of the first stage. Under caution here at the Charlotte Roval, the end of stage number 1 that was won by the 17 of Chase Barry. Tony, I know we haven't done it much this season, but what do you say we dial the stage 1 winner up here?
That sounds like a grand idea. Chase Berry, Tony, up in the booth. You got me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Talk us through what your strategy was there at the beginning of this piece. Were you just trying to ride and see what you had, or were you trying to give a test to Pienta to see how hard he was willing to go?
Just riding. I mean, it's a long race. It's got 60 laps, so we got a while. So I'm just riding, cruising, and I know Evan's super fast on these road courses, so I'm trying to see what he's got and trying to, hold back a little bit just to see what he's got. So.
We saw you guys were able to get about 9 laps out of a tank of Go Fast. How close to bingo were you at that point?
We pitted early.
Okay.
I know the stage closes at 2. I think us payday guys, we're gonna run off a little strategy a little bit, and it's road course, and I love different strategy stuff, so we're gonna try something different and hope for the best.
All right, Chase. Best of luck to you in the remainder of the race, and hopefully we're talking to you in about 15 more laps.
All right, that'd be awesome. Hopefully, it'd shoot about 35.
There you go.
That'd be a party, boys.
All right. Best of luck to you, Chase.
All right. Thank you.
So pitting early, are we?
Yeah. Little bit of strategery going on there. Is Larry Poling getting the free pass there to get back one of his laps, anyways.
Now, a lot of guys did take this opportunity to come down pit road here at the end of the stage. Johnny Rapp and Chris Brown both came down pit road. And for Johnny Rapp, I would assume it was 2 tires with a 9.15 second stop. Chris Brown, Mike Mock, and Cody Levitt came in. They will start 11th, 12th, and 13th on 4 fresh tires. Scott Tompkins, Eric Wright, Ellis Thomas, Tommy Cannon, and Chris Hone came down pit road as well, and they are still there repairing damage at this point.
As you would expect with, a 2-minute 50 pace lap, that gives these teams plenty of time to pit farm these vehicles. Now, the only problem is they're going to have to get back out prior to the rest of the field getting to NASCAR turn 4. And then they're going to have to hustle the car back around to try to get any more damage fixed, or else what's the point?
Larry Poling coming into pit road now as well. No official retirements. We had one did not start. That would have been Dan Dill in the 11. Paul Thomas is shown no longer on track.
Was removed from the server.
Well, there you go. So he was bounced, I would have to assume, during the stage caution here.
Yeah, not sure exactly what was going on with that truck, but going to regroup and try it again next week at Talladega.
Absolutely, and we had a lot of races coming up here on the schedule. If we had the schedule out long enough, I'd be able to properly show you what the races are. As coming up tomorrow night, instead of having 2 different races tomorrow night, we will only have one. It'll be the KMM New Gen Cup Series coming your way from New Hampshire. That'll be a 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time start. Nothing doing on Saturday, and then 3 races coming your way on Sunday. The iFormula Championship will not be in action this weekend, as they will take an early season week off after their race at Imola last week. It'll be the ISNF Cup Series coming to you from Talladega. That'll be a 3:20
Yes, sir.
p.m. Eastern Time start. Found that out the hard way today. As they will hold their first super speedway race of the season since the opener at Daytona. Then it'll be Fuel. The Fired Up Esports League will be running at Atlanta. Probably the last race on this current configuration of Atlanta Motor Speedway that we will be broadcasting here on ESPN before it gets updated That'll be a 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time start. And then Sunday Night NASCAR coming to your way, round number 4 at Phoenix at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And then a whole host of action starting on Monday to begin next week.
Hey, Frank, you're not allowed to hang out with that Tony guy anymore because he's a real bad influence on you.
Well, you know.
Grief. How do you really feel?
I'm allowed to have my own opinions, are I not?
True story, but as the people are watching in the live chat right now, let us know your feelings. Let us know who you're pulling for, who you're rooting for tonight. What team are you rooting for? Who do you think is going to get the breakthrough performance here at the Roval at Charlotte? For those of you just joining us, you are watching the USRA TNT Truck Series, round number 6 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Frank Marchese in the production truck on the 1s and 2s. I'm Tony Trapasso, and lights are out on the pace car, Frank.
No longer on the 1s and 2s after last night. Did a fantastic job again, by the way, last night. And a very last-second deal.
Yeah.
For Ghost.
That's the most nervous I've ever been doing a broadcast.
And like I told you off air, I was nervous my first race back doing all this. After, I know it was 3 months compared to 3 years, but still, it's always you want to get it right.
Well, I mean, there's some hiccups, but we worked through them pretty quickly.
As expected. So, with those hiccups, why don't you take us back to green here, Tony?
Well, the field working down the back straightaway right now. We're coming out of turn number 3 and 4. Pace car getting ready to make that hard left turn onto pit road. It starts its turn. There it goes. Chase Berry has the button as he works them into the final chicane. Green flag should come out as they get into the restart zone. Green flag is in the air, and we are back underway here at Charlotte. Berry and Pienta in lockstep right now. Now, nobody took fresh tires in the top 10. And I take that back. Chris Brown was the first one to take fresh tires. Chris Smith was the first one to take fresh tires. As Pienta did what he did on the initial start, jumps out in front of Berry, and Berry's just going to let him go for right now, as Jeff Pogo has gotten around Randy Bechdel.
Had one last pass to make this time as Pienta jumps out to that race lead. Jeff Pogo, you're right, Tony, jumps Randy Bechdel to jump up into the 3rd position. First 2 guys in this group here have not won a race this season. The second 2 have. Pogo, the most recent, by avenging what happened in season 6 at Milwaukee, taking the win this time at Milwaukee, leading the most laps in the process.
And Stephen Holmes, after having to pit start do that throughput at the end of qualifying, already clawed his way back up to 6th. Jamie Leach up 8 from where he started, sitting in the number 7 spot right now. So good run out of the 13.
Last time we saw Jamie Leach, he was nosed into the turn 1 barrier in qualifying. Chris Brown also had a nose in the barrier last time we saw him. He's already up to 8th. With that recovery, Ryan Jones has gotten around his teammate Randy Bechdel, so that moves Bechdel back down to 5th. Bechdel, however, not letting him get too far away, as that's 7.
Yo!
Getting close.
Evan Pienta was just 8 different kinds of sideways coming through 3.
That's going to allow Chase Berry to get right up to him. As Berry looking for that race lead again, and we've noticed and we've seen it. It's completely different. The temperament between these 2 drivers. Pienta's up on that wheel. Berry's just letting it ride.
Absolutely. And that's what Chase Berry does. It's we talk all the time. It's Randy Bechdel doing Randy Bechdel things. Well, this is Chase Berry doing Chase Berry things. Calm, cool, collected behind the wheel, not overdriving that truck. And I think as this tire run wears on, he's going to have more tire left than Pienta here in the next maybe 10 laps.
And Chase, this is not what we're used to seeing out of him, at least this season, being as aggressive early on and being this far up the field early on. As So we've had a couple of incidents here worth note. Mike Mock
Has put it on the hauler.
Yep, and this is why. Going down into turn number 1. Too much gas on exit, overcorrects, finds himself backwards. There's Tommy Cannon. Johnny Rapp also having an issue. He's going down into turn 1 just behind this incident. So there's Rapp. Oh, kind of missed the incident there completely. So we'll start this whole transfaction over again.
Something just happened to Chandler Summers.
We'll take a look at that in just a moment. See, there's the dive from the 21. Gets loose. 47. It looks like the Johnny Rapp stopping on track triggered a little bit of an incident there. As Chandler Summers, you're right, has fallen all the way down to the 17th position. We'll see what happened to him here. As this is...
Just overcooked it going into 1, it looks like.
Yeah, nope, same exact thing that Mike Mock did, just didn't overcorrect. Light tap of the inside wall and quick flick spin and away he goes.
Yeah, but he had to wait for everybody to get by him. As Chris Brown,
Yep, he's having
big
a problem
issues,
also.
same thing.
Trying to catch up on everything here. This is a better view here. A better way for the blimp at least. Oh no, he flat out overcooked it going into 1.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was just bonsai.
Unlike the other two, doesn't touch anything. So again, Ryan Jones still hanging out in front of his teammate. All 3 of the payday cars running 1, 4, and 5 here tonight.
No. 2, 4,
I'm sorry,
and 5.
2, 4, and 5. Yep, my bad.
I was going to say, because Pienta doesn't drive for payday.
Pienta's got his own team. This is Eric Wright against Tommy Cannon. This will be for 13th between these two. Damage on both of these cars from incidents throughout the first 23 laps. Scott Tompkins as well. That's Tompkins going around the 3 of Cody Levitt. Tompkins was the first of the drivers to pit earlier on. Came into pit around lap 7. Also came into pit during the stage break. Finds himself now back in the top 10.
Yeah, these guys are just they're playing nice right now, and everybody's, you know, they're not, for the most part, nobody's really over driving their trucks. Yes, we've seen some mistakes happen going into turn 1, but that is a really easy corner, as you can surely attest to, Frank. It's a really easy corner to miss your braking zone.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter what you're in, whether you're in a big heavy stock car or a small little Mazda. It is a corner very easily to get wrong. It's right off the back of Evan Pienta, looking back at that 17, and Chase Barry has not let Evan Pienta go, and you can see just how much better he is into the braking zone. It appears Barry is a lot better on entry. Again, gains a lot, but Barry, while he tends to jump into third gear a little bit early in short shift, Pienta not really willing to do that, and it helps him get the better launch. See those two battle off screen, jumping up. Turn 5 and 6, a big slide out of Evan Pienta, drifted all the way through turn 6. Finally got it caught before turn 7 and still had a little bit more slide left in him. And that's the, just goes to highlight just how difficult these trucks can be around a road course. And I think we got to go to 2 more of these, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely is. It's a top-heavy vehicle. It's probably one of the most top-heavy vehicles in the entirety of the iRacing server. So to get it to change direction, at all, is a difficult task. As Randy Bechdel's in pit road.
Yes, he is. Tony, figure out what's going on over there. As Bechdel, again, coming in early. See what he does here. Oh, blows the pit box. That's number 1. And it looks like he's going to take his 4-tire stop now and try to get out ahead at the end of the stage. Now, the stage is only going to go for another 10 more laps. Lap 35 will be the end of stage 2. I'll tell you one driver who's on a charge is Stephen Holmes. He was about 4 seconds off of the 51 and the 7. He has now closed that gap down to 1.6 seconds. That number 9, TickleZombie.com Ford, is absolutely flying here. And I think, Tony, it's about time we insert Tickle Zombie graphic ad here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of new liveries here tonight here at the Charlotte Roval. And if your wardrobe needs a new livery, you need to go over to TickleZombie.com and take a look at some of the spur-of-the-moment ideas that they've put on T-shirts, sweatshirts, and whatnots. It'll make even the undead pay attention. Just some beautiful designs over there. So go over to TickleZombie.com. Let them know that the USRA sent you, and it'll make everybody happy.
Absolutely. As we saw, the other 2 payday drivers, Chase Barry and Ryan Jones, hit pit road. Chandler Summers has gone down pit road as well. So that will leave Evan Pienta, Jeff Pogo, and Stephen Holmes as your top 3. Chase Barry comes out ahead of his 2 teammates by 5.5 seconds. There you see Bechdel and Jones. So Bechdel, even pitting a lap early, doesn't really gain much from the early stop as we see Chase Barry get around Cody Levitt for 8th as Evan Pienta now pits from the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pienta kind of had to at this point. Everybody else peeled off, and he knew that it was time to come down and get 4 tires and just to hang with everybody, because you figure, fast lap 121.52, last lap 124. So, a 3.5 second tire fall off. Around this 2.25 mile, 12-turn Roval, he kind of didn't have a choice, as Barry and Pienta should be coming out. Here we go. We're back at it.
Yep, and this would be for the effective race lead. If the guys out in front of them decide not to pit, that will give Jeff Pogo the race lead. Stephen Holmes second, Chris Smith third, then Scott Tompkins, and that was a perfect time for Evan Pienta to pit, and a very good pit stop for him, about 0.3 quicker cone to cone to undo the about a quarter of a second that he was slower in the box.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pienta did everything right on that pit stop. Chase Barry did everything right on that pit stop. The only one that really didn't was Randy Bechdel, because he kind of slid through his box and had to back up.
Jeff Pogo and Stephen Holmes both in. Chris Smith will stay out, so that Stand With Ukraine, number 28 machine, will lead a lap. I wonder, is he going to be donating $2,000 for every lap led the way the Hendrick cars were this week?
No, he's going to do what Richard Childress did and donate
Oh, there
2
you
million
go.
rounds of ammo.
So we'll hold you to that one, Chris. As he starts to waltz away here from the field, he's got a little bit of a cushion, I will say, as now Evan Pienta has caught up to the back of Scott Tompkins. Ooh, in turn 4. There goes Tompkins into the wall hard on the exit of 4.
That was a shot.
And that's Pienta being a little aggressive there as Stephen Holmes has come out and split Jones and Bechdel.
And Jones just scraped by him. But take a look at that last lap that Barry laid down. 21.48.
That's a big one for Chase Barry. Fastest lap of the race. As we'll take a look again here and see what happened with Scott Tompkins. You see Pienta throw it up the inside in turn 4. I think it spooked him a little bit. And surprisingly, not much damage for how hard he hit that tire bundle.
Well, that's the good news about there being tires there instead of just hitting the concrete barrier. Those tires, they were the first version of a safer barrier that racers came up with. So there's a lot more give there, but you can still see a lot of damage on the front of that 25.
Chris Smith decides to come into pit road. Evan Pienta stays out and will regain the race lead. Ryan Jones now promoted up to a podium position as Stephen Holmes now left battling with Scott Tompkins after Randy Bechdel has gotten past him. We'll see where Chris Smith comes out. Smith will come out right in the middle of this battle. He won't get Holmes, most likely won't get Tompkins, and he's going to fall victim to Jeff Pogo as well.
The good news is, though, he does have a pretty decent gap back to Chris Brown. So he is going to stay in the top 10 as Tompkins under fire right now.
And for Jeff Pogo, those of you wondering how he fell behind Stephen Holmes, Holmes took 2 tires, a 9-second stop for him as compared to a 15-second pit stop for Jeff Pogo, who took 4.
Right.
So that would be how those two swap positions. And I would have to think with a tire strategy like that, that means that Holmes took 2 at one point and then has come back and taken the other 2 to wipe that set completely out now.
I dare say he took lefts on the first pit stop and rights this time, yeah.
So here he comes up to P5 is Stephen Holmes, and he has not had a clean race. He did have that little run-in earlier with the 53 of Eric Wright. After Wright bounced off the wall on the inside of turn 4, came back out onto the track.
Don't see a lot of damage, though, on that Tickle
Nope.
Zombie Ford F-150.
Not at all, just right rear damage, which is not where that 53 hit him. As here comes Jeff Pogo with those 4 fresh tires. And 2 Gateway Motorsports teammates solve that issue quickly.
Battle going on behind those guys, though, is that Scott Tompkins in the 25 and Chris Smith in the 28. And Smith giving Tompkins all he can handle right now.
Tompkins last came into pit during the stage break. So that 25 on older rubber, still on the same rubber he started the race on, is that 25. This big slide going into this chicane.
Take a look at the gap that Pienta and Barry have over Ryan Jones. 11 seconds. That's insane.
That just goes to show how quick these guys have been running. Both of these guys ran sub 22-second laps last time around. Pienta put down a 21.88, while Chase Barry did a 21.79. Ryan Jones last time around, a 23.69, almost 2 seconds slower.
And there's only been 3 guys that have gone sub 22s here tonight. The third one, of course, is your points leader, Randy Bechdel, who's right now mired back and forth.
Bechdel.
Tompkins is in.
Bechdel just kind of matching the pace that his teammate in front of him is setting. One guy who is not matching any pace right now is Jeff Pogo, who is catching those two quite significantly. Just ran a 22.79 last time around. So Pogo trying to gain a couple more stage points as that will come to a close over the next 4 laps. As Pienta crosses the line just past the halfway point here at the Charlotte Roval. Pienta's, boy, he's getting really close to that wall coming out of turn 2.
Great minds think alike, because that's the thought that went through my mind, man. Another coat of paint on either the wall or the truck, and he would have been in deep trouble.
We were riding on board with him earlier on and did the same exact thing, and just he's not leaving much between that. And one, it's a good thing. He's using up every bit of racetrack that he could possibly use up, and two, you go much quicker than that, and you're going to be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and take a look at the lap times those two just put up. 122.06 for Pienta, 122.04 for Barry. The only ones the last time by to go low 22s.
And I get the sense that Barry is matching Pienta's pace of his own free will, not the other way around. I think Pienta is really pushing that truck, and Barry is very easily staying with him.
As Jeff Pogo coming through NASCAR 1 and 2 did make a move on Randy Bechdel, got the pass made, Pogo up into the top 4.
And here's the pass. This is going through, as you said, NASCAR 1 and 2, turns 9 and 10. And down into the braking zone, into the chicane. Mentioned a couple laps ago, he was running about a second quicker than the 51 and the 7. And that rings true right there.
Bill has about 2.5 seconds before he's going to get to Ryan Jones, though. And, Jones is just laying down solid laps, and that's really what we need to see out of the 7, is him just lay down steady, consistent laps, keep it on the blacktop, and not overdrive the truck. And Ryan Jones is one of those drivers, he drives with his heart on his sleeve. And very easy to get that kid flustered.
But that's also a good thing, too, because you also know he's going to drive hard and he's going to give you a good race.
Oh, yeah, he's going to give you everything he's got behind the steering wheel.
It certainly gets him into trouble sometimes, but
right.
It's also not something that should be deterred as well.
Absolutely.
This is a race that Ryan needs to really perform well at. Fell from 5th to 7th in points last week with his DNF. Sitting in 3rd right now, is looking in a pretty good position to recover at least 2 of those spots, with Scott Tompkins, Christopher Smith, and Chris Brown all deep in the field.
Well, Smith isn't that deep. Smith's currently sitting in the 7th spot. Brown currently mired back in 12th, though.
And Tompkins running in 10th. The other driver, there's 4 drivers between Ryan Jones and the top 3 in points. Jeff Pogo is that one that we didn't mention, and he is closing in at the rate of about 0.4 of a second a lap on Ryan Jones. But coming through NASCAR 3 and 4 right now, Evan Pienta just has 2 more turns to negotiate. And for the first time this season, Evan Pienta will cross the line and he will win stage number 2 here at Charlotte.
Case Berry hanging on for second. Ryan Jones, Jeff Pogo, Randy Bechdel, Stephen Holmes, Chris Smith, Ellis Thomas, Jamie Leach, and Scott Tompkins getting the last point.
So Evan Pienta has come close on numerous occasions here this season, but now finally breaks the string, as I quote-unquote break kayfabe a little bit there, and wins his first stage of the season. And with that, we will take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the TNT Truck Series here on ESBN. Evan Pienta comes home the Stage 2 victor. Back after this. Under our second stage caution of the night, as Evan Pienta takes home the Stage 2 victory, and waiting to see if they come down pit road or not here. Yes, he is. So we'll wait a second here before we interview Evan. Let him do his thing on pit road. Let them focus there, as once again we are under caution here for the stage break. Chase Barry, the winner of Stage 1. Evan Pienta, the winner of Stage 2. As the guys now make their way out.
It looks like fuel only for both of them.
Yep, fuel only for everyone at this point. Jeff Pogo, Randy Bechdel, Scott Tompkins do not come into pit. So with that, now we'll bring Evan in. As Evan, sorry to keep moving you around, but Stage 2 win, solid form all throughout this race here tonight. Going to be restarting in the 4th position. Got to the lead pretty early. Think you could do it again?
I hope so. I mean, I kind of had this strategy of, pitting before the end of stage 1 and pitting middle of stage 2 and pitting at the end of stage 2, kind of doubling down here and just kind of give myself a full reset for stage 3. And obviously some people are on a different strategy than that. So I'm just going to try and focus on my strategy. And once these 2 lap cars get by or go by the pace car or get back to the back, I'll have be up in 4th. So after that, we can just kind of maybe plow through these guys a little bit. And I mean, they're going on the same set of tires, so might just kind of hang around because I know they got to pit anyway. So just kind of trying to keep the gap with Chase. And I mean, the past few times we've pulled away from everybody, so we hopefully we can both do that and make it a race between us to the finish. But overall, a good day, I think, so far. I mean, I've been not really expecting. I was expecting to be somewhat fast, but not really expecting to be, in contention this much throughout the entire race. Obviously, the stages have brought a bigger emphasis on strategy and overall race pace, because I think before this would be stretched out way a ways, and it's nice to bunch the field back up and give guys a chance who might have made a mistake early in the race to bounce back and get a good finish. So I think it's nice. It brings definitely, with the 2 tires as well, 2 sets of tires brings in more strategy. So overall, it's a good race so far for me, and hopefully we continue that way.
Well, Evan, you answered pretty much every question I thought of and didn't think of, so we'll let you get back to it. And good luck the rest of the way, bud.
Thank you.
So that was the man who will currently be restarting in 4th. Now, this will be the deepest that he's starting here tonight. Started 3rd on the initial start, 2nd on the restart for stage 2, and will now be starting 3rd. Will now be starting 4th here.
And Avery Vanderhoof checking in the live chat. Let's go, Evan. So at least one person pulling for that beautifully prepared 00 Ford F-150 tonight.
And Avery, is there a specific number turn? I mean, we can call him turn 13 while Pienta tonight if you want.
Let's not tonight, please.
No, let's not. As the field gets set to restart here again, Jeff Pogo, Randy Bechdel, and Scott Tompkins were the only 3 that did not come down pit road. Just to take a look at what laps they came down pit road. Pogo pit on lap 27, Bechdel lap 24, and Tompkins on lap 30. So different tire strategies between the top 3 especially.
Not really. I mean, they all took 4 there. It's just
the different
what lap they took them on, yeah.
And and you take a look, and we've said it a lot this week because we've been broadcasting a lot of races at Phoenix this week.
Mm-hmm.
You can scrub off a 3-lap tire advantage pretty quickly around a racetrack like Phoenix. Here, it is a long lap, so a 3-lap tire advantage is pretty significant around a road course.
Oh, yeah, very much so, especially, when you consider that we were looking, just prior to those guys coming down to get those 4 fresh tires, we were 3.5 seconds of a tire deficit, or lap time deficit, for the guys that were still on the older tires to the guys that had just come in and pit.
So, older tires and less fuel up here at the front, and it usually creates a pretty loose condition in these
Let's
trucks,
find
especially after you've put them through a heat cycle. So we'll see what happens here as we will take the restart with 22 laps to go. It'll be the longest run of the night as the pace car, Ford Mustang pace cars, gets set to duck off. Jeff Pogo set to lead them down Noticing a lot of right side damage on Randy Bechdel's truck for the first time. We are back to green flag racing here at Charlotte. Dive into turn one. Big lockup out of the 25 as the 00 came across to jump to the inside. Evan Pienta already up to second.
Pienta wasted absolutely no time to try to put the pressure on both Bechdel and Pogo as side by side coming through 4. Drag race down the back chute. That's going to go to Pienta as now he's got to try to reel in that brand new Toyota Red Bull number 4 of Jeff Pogo. And, you know, Pogo's been pretty decent when he's gotten into some clean air tonight.
And Chase Barry wasted no time putting the bumper to the 25 of Scott Tompkins going into turn 3. As this has been a wild and adventure-packed first lap back under green, first half a lap back under green here for the 25 of Tompkins, as now Chase Barry looks to the inside going into the first chicane. Yep, he'll get him. And yep, you're right. He also got Randy Bechdel. Wow, what a move.
And I think Bechdel knew he was coming too.
Yep.
You know, and that was one of those deals where working with teammates can be effective and advantageous because Bechdel knew he was coming. Neither one of them had to worry about putting that truck in a bad position. But just like that, Evan Pienta has already caught the leader, Jeff Pogo.
That 17, though, does have something he did not have at the beginning of this race, and that is a decent amount of front end damage. And you can see now he's really pushing that truck to get back up to the race lead. Came and darn near hit the wall coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, this is probably the most aggressive we've seen Chase Barry all race long, and that truck is looking like a Laza Opsa right now. You know,
wow!
Oh boy.
What a save by Johnny Rapp.
That could have ended poorly.
My goodness!
How it didn't, I have no idea, but that could have very much ended poorly.
How in the world did he save that? We've got a couple of stuff to look for here as Ellis Thomas finds himself hard into the wall in turn 9.
Ouch.
And that right there, that's from coming out of the infield section too hot and trying to gain as much speed and momentum coming back on track as possible, and he walled that thing in turn 9.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that was... Good grief.
Let's take a look.
Randy Bechdel's on pit road.
Yeah, he is. Maybe take the tire stop now. Give yourself the most time to try to recover the positions.
Well, I mean, he's got to try to go 20 laps if he does it.
That's a lot of damage on the right side of that truck, too. No idea how he got that.
He caught the wall just around the exit of 1.
Yep,
just cheese grated it.
Scott Tompkins goes off in between turns 3 and 4. That'll drop him down to at least 8th, which is where he's fighting with Ryan Jones for now. Boy, it's all kicked off here in the final little bit.
Yeah, it has, and Pogo's definitely found some life in that new Toyota of his. He just became the 4th driver of the night to go sub-22s.
And he's needed to because Evan Pienta's right there, and Chase Barry just set the fastest lap of the night again at a 1:21.41. Right behind in 3rd. He is all over the back end of that 00, looking to try to take the race second position away from that 17, or from the 00. My goodness. Not
As
to be
Pienta and Barry continue to Pienta and Barry continue to try to limbo. You know, how low can you go with that lap time? As
here comes Pienta now.
Oh boy.
Pienta easily takes the race lead going into turn 3.
And now he has Pogo as a cushion back to Barry. Barry, though, not going to waste a lot of time. He can't at this point.
Yeah, he felt Chase Barry on him and said, I have to go, and now did Evan Pienta. As Evan now going to try to grow his lead and use that 4, as you said, Tony, as a cushion to try to hold that 17 back just a little bit. Let's take a look back here at the start, and we'll follow along with Scott Tompkins because he had the most eventful start of them all here. This is right
that
at
was
the
a
green.
legit go Code Brown moment.
Right at the green, Evan Pienta cuts him off. He locks up the brakes, just barely keeps from running over the back end of the 00, and then our camera just about cuts out.
Well, no, he had a blank.
And then gets run over by the 17 going into turn 3.
Right.
Chandler Summers also had a spin. This is up in turn 7 and 8. Turn 8, Chris Holmes smacks the wall and Tompkins follows him in.
You were wondering where Bechdel got the damage on the right side of that truck. It was on that restart.
Oh, there you go. This is Ellis Thomas, and we had mentioned him hitting the wall. Battling hard with his teammate. Oh, he actually spun his teammate in the 28. Both of them got in the wall there.
What's that old adage go? Don't kill your teammate, but if you are going to kill your teammate, make sure it's a Sports Center highlight.
Can't wreck anyone but them. Tommy Cannon has an off. Scott Tompkins has an issue. This is going down. This is him going off between 3 and 4. Never had it going into 3. And then a little bit later in the lap, going down into the backstretch chicane, outbrakes himself and runs over the 28.
I'll tell you right now, Pogo's driving the wheels off that new truck of his, as he's been holding off Chase Berry for quite a while now.
Absolutely is. Pogo certainly has found something. Now, Pogo did finish 3rd at Circuit of the Americas last season, so he can run a road course. And this is great news for Evan Pienta, by the way, who is back down. Pienta not feeling the need to run in the 21-second bracket every single lap and still growing his lead. Chase Barry cannot get close enough to Jeff Pogo to make a move to put pressure back on the 00. As Pogo's now, Pogo's going to put pressure on the 00 himself by unleashing that 17 as Pogo comes down pit road.
And we do have one more retirement to speak of. Chris Hone has decided to call it a night.
And we saw how hard he hit that wall there on those string of replays. And Jeff Pogo, the last of the drivers that did not come into pit under that stage break. Everybody else has. The other 3, I should say, have. This promotes Johnny Rapp back up into the top 5. And with the save that he had a couple of laps ago, my goodness.
Pogo just took fuel only.
So tires, not a concern, it would appear. If you can keep the tires under you here, it does not appear that tires have been a big concern for these guys tonight.
Not as much as I thought it would be. You're talking about a 2.5 second, almost 3 second fall off after about 20 laps. But all things considered, that's not bad.
Pogo's in quite a predicament right now as he's got Cody Levitt and Chris Smith in front of him. That's 9th and 8th, respectively, that he has in front of him. Levitt will now have Pogo under him, so promote Pogo up to 9th. Chris Brown also had a moment just earlier this lap battling with the 13. Oh, the 80 of Ellis Thomas got in way too hard. And Ellis Thomas moves the 136 as now he will head down pit road.
As you do if you have a situation like that.
Yep.
Expect Thomas to put Brown, I should say, to put his last set of tires on right here.
I would believe so. Yep. It's already 13.9 second pit stop. One of the fastest we've seen here tonight. Probably the fastest we've seen here tonight. Cody Levitt still trying to work his way around Chris Smith. Working with 15 laps to go, and as we had mentioned, unleashing that 17, that gap has gone from a second and a half down to 1 second here in just a couple of laps since Pogo's pit.
Yeah, but take a look at the gap that they've got to third place Stephen Holmes right now. Six and a quarter seconds. It's going to take yeoman's work. Yeah, it's going to take yeoman's work for Holmes to get back up to him. And he's got another 6.5 back to Ryan Jones in fourth. So right now, the TickleZombie.com Ford F-150 kind of on an island all by itself right now.
And a very solid third place right now for Stephen Holmes, who finished sixth back at Circuit of the Americas last year after starting 16th. Had a good qualifying run here tonight, but unfortunately it meant nothing as he disconnected as the drivers were gridding up, had to start from pit road, got into an early tangle with the 53 of Eric Wright, and has since worked his way back up with pace and a little bit of pit strategy, has gotten himself back up into the third position. So it has been an eventful evening for this 9 car.
Yeah, very much so. It looks like Randy Bechdel still struggling. Did put new tires on lap 40, and Pienta's in.
So Evan Pienta will make his final stop. Coming to 13 to go.
The good news is he should be able to make it from here.
Yep, Stephen Holmes in as well. Johnny Rapp comes down pit road. This will leave Chase Barry out in the race lead. Ryan Jones stays out. And I would have to assume Jones is either going to come into pit with Barry or stay out to lead a lap and then come in. And Pienta's going to take 4 in fuel here. Stephen Holmes, takes fuel only, and Holmes and Pienta have a side-by-side battle out of pit road. That Pienta wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Ellis Thomas able to separate those two so that the slugfest doesn't draw any blood?
And one big thing to notice, Jeff Pogo has jumped Evan Pienta. So Pogo, after being 1.5 seconds behind going into the pit stops, has jumped Evan Pienta, although it might not be for long, especially with Pienta on 4 fresh tires and Pogo on old. Pienta's already on the charge, and around the 4 goes the 0-0.
You're going to make it look just that easy for the 0-0 as they haul it down the back straightaway. And you're absolutely correct. Chase Barry is in this time. The question is Jones going to stay out?
Answer would be yes. So Ryan Jones will stay out, try to lead a lap. He won't lead this one, as Chase Barry has already crossed the line. So it will be...
Pienta's about 11.5 seconds back off of Jones right now. And he should pass Barry right here as Barry's still in his pit. Barry taking his final 4 set of tires.
4 tires and fuel for Chase Barry. That will put him out at least in 4th. Here he comes out of pit road. Stephen Holmes will come out just behind Chase Barry, about 1.6 seconds off of that number 7. And the battle between the 7 and the 2, the 17 and the 0-0, now separated by 1 point. Oh my goodness, 3 seconds between the 2.
We can English tonight, folks, I promise.
I just can't speak at all. As Ryan Jones will definitely get this lap led, whether he comes into pit road or not. And in doing so, will come to take 10 laps to go here tonight. First of 3 road course races on the season. Chase Barry side by side with Jeff Pogo around the outside, coming out of the second hairpin.
Pogo on the fresh tires, Barry on the fresh tires. Pogo did not take 4. So just like that, Barry up into the number 3 spot. And Jones is in. Check out that lap by Evan Pienta. Good grief.
121.32. And by the way, I was completely wrong on Chase Barry's move. Not only did I say it was the second chicane, that is second hairpin, that is not a hairpin, it's a chicane. And it's not the second one, it's the first one.
Okay. So if anybody understands what the heck Frank just said,
it comes
go
to
ahead
the point of why am I? Oh, Evan Pienta sliding through 7 and 8.
Well, that is going to change things up immensely as Chase Barry with a head of steam coming out onto the oval section now.
That lost Pienta a second and a half of his 3-second lead. It's now down to 1.6.
And dropping, too, because he's still trying to get himself collected as well as, the truck back up to speed.
Big mistake for that 00. And it's the first one he's made tonight. And fortunately for him, he had a little bit of breathing room. But this is the duel. This is the one we've been waiting for. Chris Smith, Ellis Thomas both come in. Chase Barry goes sub 21 at a 20.99. First driver to do that tonight. Don't tell me he's not pushing.
Oh, he's up on the wheel about as hard as he can be right now as we are currently 10 to go.
That calm, cool, collected, and relaxed Chase Barry that we heard at the end of stage 1.
He's fired.
Yep, he's fired up now.
No, I mean, that driver got fired, and we've got the very angry, very aggressive Chase Barry behind the wheel now.
Yep, here he comes looking for his first win of the season, while both of these drivers looking for their first wins of the season. And that was almost exactly 2 seconds quicker than Evan Pienta's lap that last time around, and that's all because of the slide coming through turns 7 and 8.
Barry was smelling blood in the water as he saw the smoke in front of him and kind of knew it was Pienta, as now he can see that purple F-150 in front of him, and he wants nothing more than to see it in his rearview mirror as we are going to be 9 to go as Pienta comes through the final chicane to start 9 to go.
I'm noticing something, and I don't know if it's the tire model or if it was just the update earlier this week or whatever it was. I guess grass, and another big wiggle out of the 00. I guess grass doesn't have an effect anymore like it used to, because that was probably the most egregious use of the grass that I've seen Evan Pienta take going down into that final chicane, and that truck did not move an inch.
You noticed that too, huh?
They've been doing it all night, but that was the most egregious. As Tommy Cannon up and gets out of the way. Bad spot for Barry, but it doesn't look like it cost him too much time.
No, he's still steadily reeling in Evan Pienta right now.
Evan Pienta back on form that last lap at a 21.55. Doesn't really help, though, when Barry's running a 21.18.
Absolutely. I mean, the last 2 laps Barry has laid down have been the 2 fastest laps of the night.
4 drivers to eclipse that 1 minute 22 second marker. Wow, look at how much of that truck is on the grass and it's not moving.
That's wild. I thought for sure the first time I saw him do it that he was going to go around as soon as he tapped the brake pedal, but who knows?
You do that in a Formula car, and you're around backwards faster than you know what happened.
You don't even have to hit the brakes in a Formula car. You can be coasting, and it'll do it.
Again, I don't know if it's the tire model update or what, but that was... Both of those guys should have had big issues there.
Very much so. As we're currently 8 to go, and it's the Evan and Chase show right now.
It has been all night. And this is the battle.
10 seconds to the good over Jeff Pogo.
It's not quite a pit stop, and Pogo's not quite to the good of himself here because he's got Stephen Holmes right behind him, and Holmes is not that far adrift of Randy Bechdel either.
You know, Holmes has about a second on Bechdel, but he's giving his teammate all he can handle as he looks into the inside going into the backstretch chicane. Bechdel, you can see right there in the shot as well. And Holmes overcooks it through the first part. It's going to let Pogo get a run on him out on the oval portion.
That's a big mistake there, too, by the 9, able to recover and keep position. As here comes the 9, here comes the 4. And it's looking like Holmes is going to start to get away. Yep, 0.7 of a second already between the two. And again, both of these guys only took fuel on that last stop.
Yeah, whereas Bechtel's got the fresher tires, but he's in the dirty air. And that's really affecting him. As Pienta sideways coming up over the knoll. How did he save that?
Unfortunately missed that as... Try to take a look back right now and see. Pienta's big slide. Yep, there he goes again. Another big slide.
Barry to his inside coming through NASCAR 1 and 2 as they shoot down the back straightaway here at
Barry's
Charlotte Motor Speedway into the chicane. Barry's got it. Pienta's going to try to battle back, not letting Barry get too far away, right onto his tailgate, and they've got lap trucks in front of them.
I can't see Barry losing this lead. We saw how much better that 17 was as the 53 of Eric Wright. Boy, he went into another zip code to get out of the way of these two.
And that's, you know, the sportsman thing to do. Just get the heck out of the way. You know these guys are battling for the win. Don't be that guy, as we are 6 to go. And the gap is now 13 seconds back to Stephen Holmes.
And Randy Bechdel is down pit road.
Hey.
He came in. I have a feeling he came in way too early.
Yep, that's fuel.
He's going to lose a good number of positions here. And going back to what I was saying about Eric Wright, it's a rather inconsequential move. I mean, barring him putting it in the wall, he is the only car, well, the first car, 1 lap down at this point. Chandler Summers currently sits 1 minute and 24 seconds behind Eric Wright at the moment. So it's a rather inconsequential move for him to dive all the way that far down and get out of the way. As the 25 of Scott Tompkins spins coming out of turn 1.
Well, that's no bueno.
Oh, and he's going to lose more spots. For the guy who led the second most laps at COTA last year, this race has been a very different story for that Poblocki number 25.
And up at the front of this piece, Chase Berry has just walked away from Evan Pienta. In just a couple of laps, he's already out to almost a full second to the good over the 00. And you know, that's what we've seen out of the 17 all night. He's made the statement numerous times that if you want the win, you've got to go through him.
And you can just see in the attitude of the trucks as well. Pienta has been wild and sliding all over the place, and right there you saw it, proving my point doesn't make it less true. And Chase Barry has been on rails here this evening. It has not been a dramatic race as far as saving the truck for that number 17. He may have had his moments, but certainly not nearly as many as the 00.
Pienta just flirting with disaster, getting back up onto the oval portion. Almost got into that tire barrier that protects that inside concrete wall.
Certainly been quite a night for these two. And look at the slide and how aggressive
Keepers.
Pienta is getting into that chicane. My goodness.
Well, you can't say he's not getting everything out of the truck, that's for sure.
Most absolutely. And thank you in the chat, by the way, to John Honecker. That section to the left of the final chicane is like AstroTurf and shares the same characteristics as pavement. Thank you very much for that. Didn't know that and wouldn't have by looking at it.
That would explain why.
Yep, absolutely. As Pienta still throwing this truck around here. Chris Brown about 0.8 of a second away from the back end of Ellis Thomas, who has managed to get himself back up into the top 10 after the litany of issues he's had tonight. As Thomas looking quite firm as far as that battle is concerned. Chris Smith is about 1.25 seconds back to Cody Levitt into 3, and about 7 seconds ahead of these two is this man, the 51, who not only had his 3-race pole streak broken tonight, he will also, for the first time this season, unless something big happens up front, he will, for the first time this season, not finish in the top 5. 5 top 5s through 5 races for the 51. And this 7th place finish will be the lowest finish that he has had in quite some time.
Well, that'll do it. As Larry Poling has a pucker moment, trying to stay off Evan Pienta. 3 laps to go right now, and Chase Berry 5 seconds clear of second place Pienta, who is another going almost 60.5 seconds over Stephen Holmes.
Just looking back at Randy Bechdel's finishes from last year, finished 10th at Talladega, which, I mean,
it was that Talladega.
Yeah, put an asterisk next to that. Go back to Circuit of the Americas where he finished 9th. If you want to find a race that he didn't finish below 2nd before Circuit of the Americas, which was the 10th, 11th race of the season,
yes,
you have to go all the way back to the 3rd race of the season at Milwaukee where he finished 4th. He finished 1st or 2nd every single race between Circuit of the Americas and Milwaukee last season.
Well, he also got caught up in that last lap fracas at Milwaukee as well. So who knows what could have happened had that not taken place. But what a dominating performance we've seen tonight out of Chase Berry.
Yep, absolutely. And this was, we keep hearkening back to the Daytona race in Season 5. This is exactly what we saw out of Chase Berry in that first half of the race there. Just a dominating performance. And then the second half of the race, Evan Pienta just found it and was able to really put the pressure on and ended up passing him right at the halfway point to take the win. This has been completely different. This has been Chase Berry putting the pressure on the 00 all night. And as I had mentioned before, taking the lead at will, staying with him at will, not because he couldn't pass him, just because he didn't want to. And that's what we've seen. He got around him when he wanted to, and he's opened up a 4.2 second lead.
Front end damage and all, Chase Berry has just been on rails.
And that front end damage coming from rear-ending the 25 on that first lap of this stage. As we saw there briefly, Jeff Pogo, here he is battling now with 7 of Ryan Jones, who's starting to put the pressure on. Ryan's starting to fall back just a little bit. They were sideways come the end of the last, they were side by side coming to the end of the last lap. That has mellowed out now as Chase Berry comes to take the white flag.
1 more lap to go, just over 2 miles. As Berry in complete command of this one. 5 seconds to the good. Evan Pienta has had a strong night all night long. Started 3rd, currently running in 2nd, won stage 2. Stephen Holmes had a decent qualifying lap. Unfortunately, had a connection issue just as they were gridding up, had to pit start, and has had an amazing climb to get onto a podium finish here tonight. So great run out of the TickleZombie.com F-150 team. But the story tonight has been Chase Berry finally getting that breakthrough on the season.
Yep, absolutely. And with the start to the season he has decided to stay and kind of work on tire saving in the first bit of the races, has been towards the back, either the last car or second to last car on the lead lap. Finished third at Kansas and then went back to those ways. He's now going to completely bust out here at the Charlotte Roval with a 5.6 second lead over Evan Pienta. At the moment, just 2 more corners to negotiate for the KB all-around shop number 17. Chase Berry crosses the line. He will win here at Charlotte.
Just an amazing run out of that team tonight. Evan Pienta comes across in second. Stephen Holmes coming through oval 3 and 4 for the final time. As long as he doesn't do anything crazy here coming into the final chicane, gonna come home with his first podium of the season. So good to see some good luck heading Stephen Holmes' way after having some bad luck at the start of this piece.
Absolutely, and you saw that big wiggle out of Ryan Jones coming out of NASCAR 4. It'll be Pogo taking 4th, Jones taking 5th. Last close battle for position. 2 more corners to go between Chris Smith and Cody Levitt, and I think Levitt's just a little bit too far back. Coming to the line, sideways is the 3. The 28 will just hold on as Levitt, like a professional, wipes out after the race is over.
I think Ryan Jones might be out of gas.
Well, either way, one heck of a night here tonight.
He is completely out of gas.
Well, there you go. As Chase Berry had a dominating night here tonight, and Tony will we'll get to him here in just a second. As Chase Berry burns it down for his first win of the season. His first win since Darlington on the 2nd of September last season.
Okay.
Reverse victory lap. Hey, may as well, right?
Absolutely. You know, Alan Kwiecki had what he called the Polish victory lap. Let's call this one the Ukrainian victory lap.
There you go. As we will get the top 3 in here momentarily. Tony, hopefully we don't distract him. You're with our race winner.
Chase Berry, one of the most dominating performances we have seen out of you in quite a while. Congratulations, and you called your shot at the end of stage 1.
Yes, sir. It was freaking awesome.
Well, Frank and I were talking about the victory lap that you're doing right now. You know, Alan Kwiecki had the Polish victory lap. What do you say we call this one the Ukrainian victory lap?
I can call whatever you want as long as I win this damn thing.
There you go. Chase.
Blew up.
Ah.
Sorry. I was trying to
That's
finish.
all right. But Chase, we saw at the start of the restart of this last segment, you got into the back of the 25 and suffered quite a bit of front end damage. Do you have any concern about that at all?
Yeah, I did. I knew Evan on restarts was just stupid good. Like, he just was the boss man. And so I was worried. They got checked up in front of me, and I just hit them, and I was on the brakes, off the throttle, and they just checked up a lot more than I'm used to. So I didn't, and that was the first time I've been around cars like the whole night. So it was a lot different. And so, yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to get into them, so I felt kind of bad about it. But I'm glad he ended up having a good race to finish off of it. I think.
Well, we did notice that you were pretty calm, cool, and collected through the first 3/4 of this race, and then when you came back down for your final set of tires on lap 48, it looked like the calm, cool, and collected Chase Berry got fired, and the aggressive, uh, hungry Chase Berry finally got behind the wheel, and you just walked away in the closing laps.
Yeah, no, me calm, cool, and collected is shocking. I know, right? But it's like I'm just hanging out with Evans. Like, all right, I noticed him burning his stuff up a little bit, and I learned a trick going through one, like staying in third gear, and it helped me with my wheel spin and helped me have fresh tires at the end. And then all of a sudden, he burned them up, and then he made a mistake, and I said, "Let's go." And yeah, that was fun, man. I enjoyed it. I don't know, I'm excited.
Well, Chase, we go from one of the more technical tracks on the circuit to one of the wild card races next week as we head to the 2.6 mile Talladega Superspeedway. Your thoughts going into that one?
It's gonna be, we'll see. I mean, might have a better chance of hitting lotto trying to win that thing. But I mean, it's just all about being lucky there. I know I'll probably do what I normally do, just poke around a little bit, have fun, goof off, and see what we got at the end, and stay out of the wrecks and stuff.
Absolutely, and a great run for Payday Racing tonight as you guys put 3 trucks in the top 10. As a matter of fact, first, fifth, and sixth tonight. First, fifth, and seventh. I'm sorry. You guys had a great run going all night long. Who do you need to thank before we turn you loose?
I would like to thank you guys putting it on, and coming out here every week and putting on a great broadcast like you guys do. Let's see, we got Pogo and the boys, putting this league together. We got, Randy, brings awesome strategies to stuff, and Chris Holmes for the owner. See, we got Ryan, we got Johnny, we got Spartane, we got Samos, we got J Dub. And if I'm missing you guys, I don't know. That's too bad.
All right, Chase Berry, congratulations. Go celebrate, and we will see you next week at Talladega.
Bye. Have a great time.
Yes, and there is the
always provides a great interview.
The John Force of interviews for the USRA. As you never know what that kid's going to say, but Frank, I believe you've got second place with you now.
Yes, I do. That would be our second place finisher tonight, Evan Pienta. Evan, it just looked like you burned him up a little bit too early. What happened from your end, bud?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was faster than Chase right out of the gate. Pretty much on all runs, I felt like I was the best car first 3-5 laps, and I kept the entire race. I just kept spinning the tires in the infield section, especially I think it was sector 3 and 4. Just kept those tires, just kept it on the throttle when I shouldn't have, and it was just like a drift track on the infield course. So that's kind of really where I lost all my momentum, and then just the entire race, no matter what lap it was, I just couldn't get through the backstretch chicane as good as Chase did, and I think he was the best car at it. And then just, I mean, I knew that as soon as my best bet was to have Pogo there when I got by him on the fresh tires, and just my best bet was to let him hold up Chase and bridge enough of a gap to where by the end of the race he's still behind me, because I knew that as soon as he got in clean air and just right behind me, he was gonna catch right back up, because he was able to be consistent from start to finish of each run. So good win for him. Good race for me overall. It's nice to talk to you guys again. Haven't done that in a while, but just, I don't know. I'm disappointed, but at the same time, it's nice to get a good run and kind of catch up a little bit to Randy in the points. But I don't know. We'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, next week would be Talladega. It's a wild card race, a crapshoot race. What are your hopes and expectations going into the race at Talladega?
Well, I mean, like you said, it's a crapshoot. I think you're just gonna gotta work with teammates, which my teammates learn how to fly fighter jets. So hope Jordan's doing well in his Air Force training. And but I know he'll be back like mid-April or something like that's what he told me. So I'll be teammateless, so I'll see who I'll work with. But I mean, my plan usually with Talladega races is to just kind of ride until the end, and especially with no fast repairs, and when I mean the stages, you're giving up 10 points each time, but I'd rather be there at the end than just trying to fight for 10 points that could be made up somewhere else along the way in the rest of the season. So I think it's just a roll of the dice. It's like, I mean, it's pick a name out of the hat, and that's who's gonna win. So we'll see, but I don't know. It's frustrating. I don't know.
Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
You guys for putting the broadcast on. Eric and Pogo for putting the league on. Tickle Zombie. Meyer. Jordan, teammate. Automatic Handling, Fanic Robotics, Ernest Brewworks, Evan Pienta Designs, Peak, and Hot Wheels.
All right, bud. Congratulations on a strong second place finish tonight. Bigger points day. And hopefully we'll be talking to you again at the end of next week.
All right, sounds good. See you guys.
All right, so that was your second place finisher tonight, Evan Pienta, and Tony right now is with our third place finisher, Stephen Holmes.
Stephen Holmes, it's been a long time since we've been able to talk to the TickleZombie.com number 9 post-race. Congratulations on the podium here tonight at the Roval at Charlotte.
Thanks, guys. It's good to finally be back on the podium again.
Absolutely. It's been too long, my friend. But, what was going through your mind when those connection issues started just at the tail end of qualifying?
Well, it definitely changed my strategy, that's for sure. It was totally unexpected, but I had no choice but to just go ahead and give it all I had. We had a game plan in mind on whenever we was going to pit and take tires and the fuel and all that. We had a set strategy. Still stuck with it, but I had to race a little bit harder than I wanted to and put a little bit more pressure on the tires. But in the end, tire wear wasn't really a big issue here. So it turned out in the long run, I guess you could say.
Well, the biggest thing is no matter how hard you were pushing, you didn't overdrive the truck like we saw a lot of other guys doing tonight. And I dare say that's the cleanest we have seen that number 9 Ford F-150 at the tail end of a race in a long time.
Yeah, I saw several drivers. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast here. I mean, this track, it's real slick, and these trucks, it is, well, for the most part, it's hard to get the grip down, get the power down to the tires. I've seen a lot of trucks get loose on corner exit, and I actually did a little bit of wheel hopping a few times going into the chicane there on the backstretch, and kind of got my attention. But yeah, all in all, it was an awesome race. I was looking forward to it, and wasn't the finish that I was really wanting, but I guess you could say this was pretty much the best of the rest, huh?
Well, you did have a hell of a run all night long, but we go into one of your wheelhouses next week, as you're normally one that's running up front at the tail end of the plate tracks as we go to Talladega. What are your thoughts going into that one?
Well, um, just try to keep the fenders on it, try to stay out of the big wrecks, and stage racing. It's gonna put a kink in it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. The new trucks. I don't know if the new trucks is going to play a factor. I don't know if it's just a visual thing, or if the new trucks, the new noses on the trucks, are actually going to play a hand in how the trucks draft. But we're going to give it everything we got, and hopefully we'll finish 2 spots better next week, and I'll be talking to you again.
All right, Steve, before we let you go celebrate the podium tonight, who do you need to thank?
First of all, I want to thank Eric and Jeff for putting on the league. They do a heck of a job each week. Teammates to go along with that, Jeff and Eric also, along with Dan, the people that's in our chat, Cody, Jamie, all of those guys. Never a dull moment. Thank my sponsor, obviously, Tickle Zombie. Finally got it on the podium. So I hope you enjoy that. Hope you enjoy that, Carrie, and you guys for the show you put on each week. You do an amazing job each week. I love watching it and everybody watching it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week. Oh,
All right.
one more thing.
Yes, sir.
One more thing. I hate to take up all your time, but I just wanted to make a note that the reason for the Pogo getting around him, he ran out of gas there at the end. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Eric. He was the third member in the car whenever we won at Bathurst. I don't think you mentioned him whenever and during the broadcast whenever you mentioned the win at Bathurst. So I wanted to mention that he was in the car as well.
All right. So not only can you guys get it done on the ovals, you all know how to get it done on the road courses, as you showed tonight. Best of luck to you next week at Talladega, and congratulations again on the podium here tonight.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
And then that will conclude the interview portion of the evening here tonight from Charlotte. And Tony, one heck of a race here tonight. And it's, as I think Steven said, basically a case of there was two guys running their own race, and then there was everybody else.
Yeah, and you kind of expect that when you come to the road courses. You know, there's those guys that do well on short tracks, guys that do well on intermediate tracks, guys that are super speedway specialists. And, you know, tonight we saw that both Evan Pienta and Chase Berry know how to get it done on a road course. And the same goes for Stephen Holmes, too. This is one of the strongest runs we have seen out of that TickleZombie.com F-150 in quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the better runs that we've seen out of really all the guys that we saw up in the top three here tonight. And, you know, going into Watkins Glen in about a month and a half's time, and then, you know, if the championship is still up for grabs, going into Canadian Tire, the penultimate race of the season, that is going to be a huge monkey wrench for some of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Randy Bechdel is going to need to spend the rest of his season practicing for that event if he wants to defend his season 6 championship. You know, he's going to have a strong run there if he's going to have any shot at it.
Yeah, and again, this is just the first time since really Kentucky, the second race of last season, or pardon me, I was looking at Chase Berry's stats. Yeah, well, still Kentucky. The first race since Kentucky that he has not finished inside of the top 5, and it's sort of a legitimate race. He had, again, Talladega is what Talladega is, and then it was a mistake, a pit road penalty, and then they had to fix damage at Coda last year. Go all the way back to the second race of the season where this guy hasn't finished inside of the top 5. That's incredible.
Yeah, very much so, and you know that's been kind of the way it's gone for the past couple of seasons here. You know, Randy has made a statement loud and clear that anybody that wants to race for the championship, they're going to have to go through him to get it. And you know, I think Chase Berry and Evan Pienta both made their statements here tonight that okay, bring it. And you know, for that matter, Stephen Holmes too. Again, strongest run we've seen out of him in a long time. A lot of guys have had strong runs here tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how that momentum carries over to Talladega, as you know as well as I do. You don't even have to be the one that makes the mistake, and you're going to be putting that car back on the hauler piece by piece.
Yep, absolutely. As we will now go to the results here for tonight's race. Chase Berry comes away with the victory. Evan Pienta, Stephen Holmes, your top 3, as we've heard. Jeff Pogo, Johnny, and Ryan Jones come home in the top 5. Johnny Rapp Randy Bechdel, Chris Smith, Cody Levitt, and Chris Brown round out the top 10, with Ellis Thomas, Jamie Leach, and Scott Tompkins rounding out the cars that finished on the lead lap.
Eric Wright coming home in 14th. 15th goes to Chandler Summers. Tommy Cannon, just as soon forget, coming home in 16th. Larry Poling, 17th. Chris Hone in 18th. 19th going to Mike Mock. Paul Thomas getting scored in 20th, and Dan Dill did not start.
So that will do it for us here tonight. And just as a reminder, coming up tomorrow, only one race coming up tomorrow. That will be the KMM New Gen Cup Series. They will be at New Hampshire starting at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Nothing doing on Saturday, but that is just to gear us up for a big Sunday. With the ISNF Cup Series, they will be at Talladega tomorrow at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Then it'll be Fuel, the fired up esports league, at Atlanta in what will most likely be the last race of this current spec at Atlanta at 7:20 p.m. on Sunday, and then then at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, so an hour after Fuel. Sunday night NASCAR will be at Phoenix for round number 4 of their season. So for my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening, and we will see you all next week from Talladega.